Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you
again and again.
Black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Technology Podcast. Of course, this podcast is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Tom Doherty. In this episode, we're going to be talking a lot about Mark Zuckerberg and his trip to Washington. On Tuesday, he was in front of a joint session of the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Senate Committee for Commerce. About 44 senators were in front of Mr. Zuckerberg, and they had about a 5-hour session to gain information about the Cambridge Analytica scandal and about the implications that Facebook was involved with dealing with our past election and the security of the users' data and profiles. Then yesterday, he was in front of the House Energy and Commerce Committee for another long session where he was grilled more regarding about the security of different users regarding all across their different platforms. The main takeaway from both of those two sessions was the fact that, Mr. Zuckerberg did apologize, Mark did apologize, and the fact that he needs to do that, of course, because, he's in pretty hot water right now. There were some differences between these two questionings from different committees. Obviously, both parts of the House of our Congress were able to get their chance to take a whack at Mark Zuckerberg. On the House side of it, which we're going to talk about more in the second segment, we're actually going to take two segments on this because it is a pretty big story, lots to unpack here. But the main two differences, the House segment, the House was more grilling, and there were more pointed questions on the macro side of the entire security across all their platforms, whether it's Facebook Messenger, Instagram, or just the Facebook app itself or the Facebook site itself. Versus on the Senate, they were getting more of a grasp on what Facebook does in general, and then how it was able to get involved in different aspects of the election, and how the data was sold to different people in order to get poignant ads in front of people, and maybe even sway their thoughts on our candidates in the 2016 election. All right. So going back to what were the main brass tacks of this whole thing, just to throw some information out at everybody. So the whole Cambridge Analytica scandal involved 300,000 people who took a quiz on Facebook, and then that quiz was allowed access to their, not only them but their friends, which then that expanded the breach into 87 million profiles being accessed for data mining, and then that was sold to Cambridge Analytica for $800,000. And even the CEO of Cambridge Analytica, and Alexander Nix, declared that they did actually run all the digital campaign and television campaign, and use its data to inform strategy for the Trump campaign. So you got to think about that there. How, we did talk about how maybe the Russians got involved in this with some sort of hack or some sort of ability to put in fake news in front of people to sway people's their opinions on certain things, whether it's policy, whether it's just Hillary Clinton herself, whether it's putting Mr. Trump in a good light. However, this is more of a tech problem where we're getting people and their fact that they are trusting Facebook and these servers and these different sites with their information, with their profiles, and now they're getting more and more transparent on the fact that, we're not doing that as well as we possibly could have. In the Senate, they definitely started off more. Obviously, if you read the transcript of this whole ordeal, it was a 5-hour joint session of the Senate. They were definitely talking about how this was just something that they could not ignore because it affects so many people, and we have everybody who uses Facebook and who uses this service as an ability to connect with each other, connect with the people, and they don't want to be able to be coerced or have this unknowingly have this unknowing circumstance go underneath them, and without their permission and with their knowledge, having their information. And then the fact that these senators were trying to figure out who actually owns this data. I mean, the Facebook, they have reiterated the fact that maybe this data is whatever you input onto the site you do own. However, you are willingly inputting it onto a site started by Mr. Zuckerberg and started in order to collect people's information and possibly use it to package up and sell. I mean, this is what they didn't tell everybody they're going to do this, obviously. But I mean, if you're Zuckerberg and you're trying to, like I talked about on the Tuesday show, if you're trying to become more solvent and trying to make money, you're seeing this as a money making opportunity. And whether he was the one behind it or he kind of just let it happen, definitely has be the one responsible for all this. So he definitely was, first things first, was definitely apologizing starting Tuesday, saying that it was surely his fault as he runs and is in charge of this whole entire company, and was definitely his responsibility in order to protect these people's information. I mean, he did say they face a number of important, as quoting exactly what Mr. Zuckerberg was saying here from the transcript, that when he's talking to the Senate Chairman Walden and the ranking member Mr. Pallone and all the different members of the committee, they face a number of important issues around privacy and security and democracy, as you rightfully have some hard questions for me to answer. Before I talk about steps we're taking to address them, I want to take a minute about how we got there. Facebook is an idealistic and optimistic company. For most of our existence, we focused on all the good and that connecting people can bring. Yes, of course, Mr. Zuckerberg wants to go and put a little positive light on Facebook, obviously, before he gets grilled, thrown in the barbecue there, because that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, he didn't quite get the tough questions he did yesterday, or on Tuesday, that he got yesterday, and we'll talk about that in the next segment. How the House definitely got more poignant on the fact that they're really more interested in finding out exactly what the different policies of Facebook is regarding people and their rights to their privacy and rights to their information that they put on the site, and then the fact that maybe preemptively stopping this from happening again. Versus the House was the Senate was definitely more. The Senate was definitely more interested in finding out what exactly led to the election tampering. What was the transpire of the 87 million profiles that were sold or accessed in order to gain information. So this is definitely an interesting thing. Of course, Mr. Zuckerberg goes into the fact that they have some positive lights for it. This fact that Facebook has been used to raise money for disaster relief, has been used for to spread awareness for different social movements. And I mean, obviously, he wants to definitely put a positive light on it. But he obviously continues in saying that it is clear now that we did not do enough to prevent these tools from being used for harm as well, as that goes for fake news, foreign interference in elections, and hate speech, as well as developers and data privacy. We did not take a broad enough view of our responsibility, and that was a big mistake. So he comes out and does admit there was a mistake, because I mean, you have to understand, this is a massive company. Obviously, we're going across the transnational here. And they do have there's a lot of in their purview. Zuckerberg, they have 27,000 employees that he has to deal with. And if one guy gets some information and decides to sell it, or if he finds out that there's a way to make money that he didn't know about before, I'm not condoning this at all, but we're just talking about business here, and the fact that he is a massive figure in this company, and the fact that, I mean, it does all land on him, but now he's in front of this, and now that he's in front of the Senate, he's finally starting to come out and finally probably realize that, yeah, we messed up here. We messed up, and yeah, we just didn't realize how far-reaching our ability was, and how volatile the code and the just basically the size and the reach of Facebook and its ability and its technology in order to be able to grab and hold on and be able to, I'm trying to say here, is just like grab a bunch of information and make a data mining scandal happen. Basically, he probably, I mean, if you're Mark Zuckerberg, you probably knew that was going to happen. Come on, buddy. It's just crazy. Come on. You have all these profiles out there. How would you not know somebody could just package them all up and say, okay, this group of people like this group of people like this, let's put these ads here, let's put these ads here. I mean, he did say he's sorry. He said, it was my mistake. I am sorry. I started Facebook. I run it. And by the end of the day, I'm responsible for what happens here. So now we have to go through every part of our relationship with people to make sure that we're taking broad enough view of our responsibility. And yes, I mean, the more transparent you are, the better. I mean, these days, that's all about transparency. And they've already, like I said, started to roll this out, where on the last episode, I was talking about how they have a service that they're rolling out where you can go through every different little site that you have given permission to get to access your profile, and you can go through and delete each little one, because you never know how we're not going to have a Cambridge Analytica scandal again. I mean, this guy created a quiz app on the Facebook site that not even 500,000 people use, and it led to 87 million people having their profiles breached, basically, because of this code that he wrote into it that allowed the information of the people who ever used the quiz, their friends were also susceptible to be having their information gathered, basically. So I mean, this is definitely, he wants to talk about different things between what Cambridge Analytica did and the fact that they did work with the Trump campaign and did have ties to Russia as well, because I mean, you don't really want to be involved in that. We already have enough going on with Trump and Russia, but a tech company as big as Facebook, they definitely don't want to be involved in that. But they have now been caught in the crosshairs, as we have Mr. Zuckerberg being grilled by now this is the Senate committee talking about it. He didn't get as grilled as much, but in the Senate, I could imagine. I'm taking from their transcript, because I mean, the fact that the Senate was trying to get more of a gauge on what exactly happened with the election and how Facebook was involved in that, versus the House was definitely looking at more preemptive measures on how we could stop this from happening again, where the data isn't going to be as susceptible to being taken in or being gathered and packaged together. Like I was talking about just a second ago, how this information can just be used to target ads, to target fake news, to target different stories that, whether they're, I mean, like I said, fake or not, I mean, it doesn't matter. If you are going to be kind of pigeonholed or being put in a certain category, that you might be susceptible to being swayed by a certain thing. That's what the whole point is. So I mean, he did continue to say that they've come a long way for it, but then this is all in his first little opening line, saying that they would like to say that yeah, Facebook isn't all bad, guys. Don't worry about it. So the Senate actually continues on in saying they refer to the fact that they ask if Facebook is a media company or a technology company, because there is actually a fine line now. We're seeing Facebook TV. We saw already that they've come out with a big, long documentary series about Tom Brady. We've seen the fact that we've seen others. Actually, they're kind of getting into the sports realm of it. I mean, a little crossover here, but I mean, they had two documentaries, both involving sports. They had one about the LeVar Ball and his sons. If you guys don't know about that, those basketball players that now play over in Lithuania. The oldest son plays for the Lakers. They had a Facebook TV had a show about them. Now you got a show about Tom Brady. I mean, people watch the Oscars. I mean, they had saw that all this stuff is going on here. They've had more viewers than, actually saying that people had more viewers on Facebook TV than watched the Oscars. So I mean, they're asking if Facebook, to Mr. Zuckerberg, if Facebook is a media company, and he says that he would consider it a technology company because they have engineers that build code and build products for other people. Basically, I mean, there is a fine line here, because yes, they are broadcasting different media. But they're saying that at the general base of it, they're basically a group of engineers that is building code and building this site. I mean, it is a website at the heart, and they do have different services like Facebook Messenger in order to have more person-to-person communication. But yeah, they do have a media. They do have a responsibility to have a responsibility to have content on their site that is going to be trustworthy and going to be vetted, because that's what media companies, there's a code of ethics here with these media companies. I mean, obviously that's what the Senate is trying to figure out. Obviously they're asking pointed questions as if what they're trying to figure out exactly what Facebook is, whether it's a media company, whether it's a financial institution. I mean, they do have, they're asking specific questions. I mean, there's a Senator Walden was like, you can send money to friends on Facebook Messenger using a debit card or PayPal account to quote split meals, pay rent, and more. But people can also send money via Venmo, which is owned by Facebook, on their or owned by PayPal. On their bank app. Is Facebook a financial institution? And he's like, I do not consider it a financial institution, although you're right, we do provide tools to send money. I mean, this is, the Senate was, like I'm talking about, they're just trying to figure out what Facebook is in general, with the different aspects and the different far-reaching qualities that Facebook has, the abilities you can use, the different tools you can use through Facebook. Now, I mean, we're getting into a point where I feel like everything has you can send money through everything these days. I mean, you can send money through Snapchat. I mean, come on. There's like 4 or 5 different money sending apps these days. All the banks have their instant money sending apps. I mean, is Snapchat a financial institution? That's kind of a weird question, but they're definitely just trying to figure out what Facebook is. And then in just a second, in the next segment, we're going to talk about exactly what the House had to ask for, and that's really whether we get into the meat and potatoes here, where Zuckerberg has really asked about the security and the future of the safety of all the different people that use Facebook, and if people are going to stop using Facebook altogether, or if we're going to see a massive downturn in the use of Facebook in the future. All right, so we'll talk about that when we get back in just a second.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast, dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
All right, welcome back to the GSMC Technology Podcast. In the first segment, I actually did misspeak a little bit there. We talked about kind of both what was going on. We talked about the House and the Senate. Some of that stuff there was a lot of overlap, obviously, with these two different hearings that both went on for quite a long time. There was some House stuff going on in there. There was some Senate stuff going on in there. So that is Mr. Walden. He's a congressman, so a representative. So if we're talking about the Senate, I'll say senator. If we're talking about the House, I'll say House member or congressman, because I mean there's just a lot of politicians going on here. We don't really see often on our technology show. We're talking about politics and our big technology company here at the GSMC Podcast Network on our technology podcast, with Mr. Zuckerberg being grilled by not only the House Judiciary Committee, the House Commerce Committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, the Senate Commerce Committee, and then the House Commerce Committee as well. So yeah, lots of stuff going on here, where we do have some pointed questions coming up that I wanted to touch on regarding the different scandals that they had to go on. Mr. Zuckerberg has come out and said that they asked these questions about whether he has had any other contact with companies having data transfers, just like the kind of Cambridge Analytica stuff through apps, or whether they're having some sort of backdoor put in with these apps. There's definitely some investigations that need to be going on. Zuckerberg has said that they're going to be going through all their different apps. I mean, they have tens of thousands of apps coming out through Facebook. I mean, because it's all kind of a free thing where you have people who can generate their own things and put it up on the Facebook, on their different sites that eventually get picked up. But it's definitely interesting. Yeah, he says that they have to audit stuff correctly. I mean, Senator Grassley did ask if they've ever had an audit, ever required an audit to ensure the deletion of improper transferred data, and so many times. And Zuckerberg did say that he doesn't have an exact figure of how many times, but they have had an audit, and they're probably going to be conducting a few more of them now. I do have to know that these senators, they were trying to get more of a gist on what was going on with the hack instead of what was going on with these the data, the safety of the data on whether the policy of Facebook is the fact that they own the data and they technically have the right to do whatever they want with it, or the actual user owns their data or their information they put on the site. Because these people are willingly putting on the site. You don't have to go on Facebook and sign up and put on your birthday and your favorite show and everything. You don't have to do that. You're not required to do that by law, obviously. But the Facebook does have there's an ethics involved in here, and definitely you want to be careful with what you're doing to your user base, no matter how big it might be. But they didn't take a broad enough view of their responsibility, and the fact that they made a mistake. He's kind of said this in he said that in both the hearings, the fact that they just didn't have the scope of the exact responsibility of Facebook and how far reaching they can go in this world. But you have to understand, Mark, what's going on here? Dude, you started this company from your dorm room. You grew it all the way up until now you have the ability to touch every single person through technology, through these computers, through our airwaves. No, and in the click of a button. You can, if you make a little tweak to your Facebook, the way it looks at the interface, people are going to go crazy. Oh my gosh, what's going on Facebook? people, you see how many people use it. You have 2 billion. They said 1.4 billion people use it every day. That's clearly is way, it's going transnational here, as like I said before. They'd have to get a glimpse of what their responsibility is. Whether he's just trying to dodge around these questions and say, yeah, actually, no, I know exactly what's going on here. Come on, guys, I went to Harvard. I just didn't want to deal with it because, I think that's what's kind of going on here. He did say sorry. He said the same thing. The fact that he started Facebook, he runs it, and he's responsible for it. He said the same thing in both different hearings, and he's probably getting at a point here. I'm just, again, bringing up the social network, the fact that he's sitting in this dorm room. He's like, I don't want to be here. I have bigger things to do at the Facebook headquarters and stuff to do. Let me go so I can actually go fix this thing. That's kind of what we're getting to here at this point. But to go back to, like I was talking about, the House, I did tease this a little bit. The House was a little more poignant on what it is. I'll definitely be sure to let you know who's talking to Mr. Zuckerberg and the House member that is doing it. These people still don't know what's going on here. You have Congressman Pallone who is talking about they don't know what's going on with the Facebook and how if you sign in on a daily basis on what kind of data you have access to, which data is ours, which data is yours, which information do we have the rights to, which information do you have rights to? What's going on here? There's really no thing here. There's no thing here, and Zuckerberg goes to say that they're allowed to, with their developer platform, to have people sign into other apps and bring their data to them. That is something a lot of people will want to be able to do. However, these developers, do they really have the rights in order to have access to these people's information? If they're technically getting permission for it, but the fact that they are going to be now abusing it, Facebook has said they're now limiting what they can do, and people can only bring their data when they go into an app specifically. So they have to specifically almost give doubly give their permission to do so. So, the congressman didn't really get what he wanted there. He didn't know what is going to be happening. So they had to move on to the next question, moving that there's not enough to know. People aren't empowered enough really to make the decisions in a positive way, he says. So they don't know the information that they need to know in order to make these decisions, and therefore willingly give their data away without, they're basically giving it away without knowing that it's out there and able to be sold or mined or transferred to a company in order to be used for political action. This is just Facebook. We're using with social media. We want to go connect with grandma across country. Or I want to go meet my long lost sweetheart from high school. Or I want to play Farmville or play this quiz or whatever. I want to find out what Simpsons character I am. They don't really know that this is, we're giving away, basically selling our souls to this company and allowing them to get into this, into our lives almost, and get into our information regarding the different things that we like to do, or the different shows we watch, or different people that we know. I mean, that's the one thing also, is that you have to be careful with the people that you know. I mean, they all kind of go in, they all goes together. We saw with the Cambridge thing is that only 300,000 people use this app, and it's expanding to 87 million. That's how far reaching, and about how many friends people can have on Facebook. I mean, there's some people with thousands of friends on their Facebook accounts, because I mean, you could go from your best friend to the guy you met twice at a coffee shop. Oh, friend me on Facebook or whatever. I mean, or Facebook me, something like that. So I mean, it's as subtle as that. You never know what's going to happen. So definitely a lot of stuff going on here, as they have to kind of figure out what's going on. There was another question to Zuckerberg that they don't really understand why they're censoring people, why the Zuckerberg has had the ability to pick and choose what's going on his site, different things that they have the control over. Why isn't it, if it's so free flowing with the fact that you can go and take people's information, why are you obviously having these errors being made when it comes to enforcement, and it comes to different people that they're auditing and checking out when it comes to bloggers or different malicious posts on there. He brought up a specific thing. Why is Facebook censoring a conservative blogger? And Facebook called them unsafe to the community. And the fact that this Congressman, Congressman Barton from Texas. So yeah, Republican from Texas. He was talking about why is Facebook have the right to pick and choose who's going on their who's going to be able to post on their site or whatever, they put information on their site, and why they can just decide, oh, that person's no good or that person's good. I mean, this isn't really. He kind of was going away from this is the house for you. They like to bounce around. This is kind of getting away from the different the poignant questions we're getting here. This is the house talking about what's going on with why they're censoring different things and why they get to pick and choose. I mean, Zuckerberg did say that in that case, a team made an enforcement error, and we've already got in touch with them to get back and correct it. So, I mean, this is definitely an interesting set of questions that these guys are going through. I mean, they're trying to get to children, and they're talking about how they're able to keep people from starting you can't get a Facebook account on your own until you're 13 years old. And there's just they're asking why they can't just have a no data sharing policy period until you're 18. There's definitely a way to do that. He's saying that Zuckerberg is saying that, they could put measures in place. They have another number of measures in place to protect minors specifically. We make it so that adults can't contact minors who they aren't already friends with. We make it so that certain content that may be inappropriate for minors we don't show. So, I mean, yeah, of course, anybody can put a fake birthday in there. I know people who have done that all the time. But, I mean, regarding Facebook, you have all this data involved, and you have all this tech that all these coders that you're using to create new software, develop new apps and stuff like that. Why don't you just have a team that is specifically dedicated to data security and to different profile security, whether it's for minors, whether it's for people who are old enough to see everything, but they don't want their stuff being put across these internet waves. I mean, it's just interesting, the fact that, you can see these teens often do want this. He says their teens obviously do want their opinions publicly, and there's a service to that. I mean, there's definitely an option whether you can make things public or not to your friends, or you're going to put it out and kind of boost it across the entire Facebook platform, whether you're going to be able to be seen by friends or not. So Facebook probably needs to have a little more clear guidelines to their users regarding what's going to be happening when you post a page, or when you share something, who's going to see it, who's not going to see it. I mean, I know when I go on Facebook, I see people sharing stuff all the time. It's kind of gets a little jumbled in there, and it's hard to kind of tell who shared what, or what's going on, who's the original poster of this thing, where'd this come from. I mean, maybe they just need to get a little more transparent as to the fact that, this information can be taken and be used for data mining and for different problems regarding data security. So there are definitely a lot more questions. I mean, I could take a whole podcast talking about this kind of stuff regarding Mr. Zuckerberg and the House and all these random questions. I mean, these guys, I feel like they have sometimes, they get 5 minutes to ask them a question. They kind of have a little interesting when they can get on a personal vendetta and just ask them personal questions. But they definitely, there's some people who got back to the actual point and said, okay, what's going on here, Mark? Why are we having issues with this? And what's the actual thing you're going to do regarding our safety and our safety of our privacy, our information and the privacy of it, because we don't even know who owns this information. Do you own it now that we put it on your site? Do we still own it? What's going on? I mean, he never really kind of answered that question. Zuckerberg definitely danced around the question. And said every time a person chooses to share something on Facebook, they're proactively going to a service and choosing that they want to share a photo, write a message to someone, and every time there is a control right there, not buried in the settings somewhere, but right where they're posting, whether they're going to see it or own it or have it put public or private or just to their friends or whatever. So he's putting it back more on the users. I feel here with Zuckerberg saying that people are kind of just being more frivolous with their information than he originally intended. All right. So enough about that. We use 2 segments to talk about Zuckerberg in Washington. I mean, he's definitely, Facebook has, I mean, if you want to talk about just the overall impact of it, Facebook has kind of weathered the storm, I feel, with this whole thing. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be really turning away from Facebook these days, especially if they continue on their goodwill campaign here with changing their data policies and just certain things like that, and then getting back into the good graces of everybody who was having their data breached, whether they know it or not. So we'll come back with the next segment, and we'll turn to the more lighter side of things, away from this dull political stuff that, I mean, I did want to talk about it, report it, because I mean, it's pretty relevant to everybody. Almost everybody I know has a Facebook account, and maybe everybody you know has one too. I mean, there are 1.4 billion people that use it every day. So when we get back, we're going to talk about some cord cutting news in the entertainment world and the television world, some things that Disney is doing, some things they're planning on doing in the future. So we'll talk about that when we get back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Ooh, welcome back to the GSMC Technology Podcast. All right. First segments, we went over Facebook and their trip to Washington. Well, it was Mr. Zuckerberg's trip to Washington with all of his lawyers and advisors and such, and his talk to 3 different committees in our Congress, 2 Senate committees and a House committee, all getting a chance to grill him and ask him different questions. I mean, the takeaways from this is that Facebook is basically going to get their stuff together, I feel. He said sorry. He said, my bad. It's over. It's kind of done. We're going to fix it, and we're going to get more provisions here for technology purposes. I mean, the senators, I don't know what they really, and these congressmen took away, they asked kind of their own random questions, and then some of them eventually to get to the fact that they had to, we're here to talk about internet privacy and data mining. So in this scandal that came out with the fact that we had 87 million people have their profiles sold across to this company that used it for election tampering and for persuading people's votes, possibly, so voter tampering there as well. All right. So into a more lighter topic we're going to talk about the fact that Disney is now getting into the cord cutting world of it at all. I mean, we know we have Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime TV. We talked about Facebook TV. Actually, we got YouTube Red's coming out now, which is a subscription-based service where you can pay and basically watch regular TV through your YouTube channel or through your YouTube.com without ads as you pay for it, just like you pay for regular television. So ESPN is going to be, it's going to be called, it's actually ESPN. So if anyone knows, Disney runs ESPN, your favorite sports channel or not. So in the tech sector, definitely ESPN has been getting on to this mobile. They're trying to get more mobile app together and get more people on using their mobile app and watching games, streaming, and all this good stuff. So Disney is kicking off their streaming feature with a service called ESPN Plus. It's going to be $4.99, and it's going to be a direct-to-customer subscription video service that will offer you a little bit of Major League Baseball and a little bit of NHL, but also it's going to be hitting those niche sports as well. If you are MLS fans out there or cricket or what have you, now you're going to be able to get this on your phone. So it's it's going to be launched across your phone, Android, iOS, Apple TV, Chromecast, Fire TV, and on the web. So this is more really about cord cutting, though, and the fact that Disney is starting to join the world of cord cutting. Is now this is just the fact that it's ESPN is just what they're calling the maiden voyage here for their cord cutting endeavors with Disney. I mean, they're going to be they're starting with ESPN because I feel like sports is a good way to start because you can use it on different platforms. You're going to be able to do live streaming with games. You can have original episodes regarding different sports topics. I know Kobe Bryant's going to have a show on there. You can watch if you're a subscriber to that service. Some original programming. They're also going to be able to put, if anybody is a fan of the 30 for 30 episodes that they put on there, which are usually highlighting in depth to a story or a big event that happened in the past, a sporting event that happened in the past, or a story or a person, whatever may have you. Those are actually really good, by the way, so you go watch them if you're a sports fan. But on the technology side of it, they're going to be able to now compete with the Netflix. They're going to be using Disney's BAM Tech division, which actually is a streaming powerhouse that actually helps the apps of HBO and the WWE for streaming as well. So they're going to be using the top of the line stuff. It means it is their division. Disney is going to be putting it out, whether it's the direct to customer and international segment, as they're going to be calling it. It doesn't sound that great, but I mean that's basically what they're going to be doing. Is they're going to have sometime in 2019 they're going to be I think they're going to be partnering with Hulu because Hulu now, Disney's stake in Hulu is increasing now that under its new deal with Fox, their majority ownership will now become. It will actually become. I think it will look like it will become a majority ownership deal as Disney increases their stake in Hulu to try and compete with Netflix. I mean, using Hulu to compete with Netflix, as Hulu actually is getting beat pretty badly right now by Netflix. But if you get Disney behind it and try and get more of their family oriented or kid friendly, you get a whole nother market there with their original programming of there. So I mean, it's looking like Disney's going to be building out. They're going to be building out, like I said, a full on Netflix rival. It's going to have all things from your favorite superhero blockbusters to animated movies and hits. But right now it's going to be they're starting it off with ESPN. So for you sports fans out there, you tech sports fans out there, a little crossover here. You can go on and you can subscribe to this ESPN Plus, and it's going to be right through your ESPN app on your phone, and you're going to be able to get different live games. I think you get one live game a day. Subject to blackouts, of course. I have to mention that because I don't want it to be like, oh, where's my game? And then also they're going to be having kind of like, if you update your ESPN app and you sign into the app, you're going to be able to see that they kind of totally revamped the watch sector of it, the little watch button over there on the right side. And it kind of looks like Netflix, actually. They're going to be putting on their own, like I said, they're going to put on their own original shows. They're going to be putting on different things for people to start getting used to this whole cord cutting thing where if you don't want to, I mean, it's not going to replace the ESPN channels. That's what they're really trying to market that out. They're not replacing ESPN channels, even though they probably should because it's going downtown. But they're not replacing that. But they are going to be trying to complement that with more of a on-demand ability to have on-demand shows where you can go watch. Like I said, Kobe Bryant's going to be having his show. You can go watch the 30 for 30s whenever you want. You can go watch the ESPN Draft Academy whenever you want. But they're definitely going to be increasing this base where they're going to be getting, whether it's another stream of revenue or they're going to just be copying in order to compete with, like I said, Netflix and getting this is kind of their first rollout, starting with sports. I mean, like I said, starting with sports is interesting because you do have so many different platforms. Instead of starting, okay, here's a show, like watch it. Now you have sports where you already have kind of a built-in fan base, and then like I said, it's going to be getting after those niche sports. So your cricket fans out there, this is going to be for you, ESPN Plus, because I mean it's going to be revolutionizing this tech. This tech industry regarding Disney is now starting to get in it and trying to get on that Netflix bandwagon, if you want to call it that. So I mean, you're going to definitely have to get on this early because if you sign up before April 18th, they're saying you can get 30 days free to watch whatever you want, pretty much. So if you're definitely big on those sports shows, I would get on that for now. Or you can just kind of wait and see what Disney's going to do, because you never know what Disney's going to do. They got to figure this stuff out. They're having some issues with ESPN right now, but they're definitely trying to get their tech stuff all lined up in order to have a program where they're going to compete with Netflix. And the thing with Netflix is now they got all this money, and Netflix just keeps pumping out original content. I mean, I think every day I go on Netflix and see a new original series or original movie or whatever may have you. I mean, whether they're good or bad, but there's just so much content out there, and ESPN is going to be able to do that for Disney because they have there's a lot of different sports out there, obviously, and there's a lot of different things. I mean, who doesn't want to watch Kobe Bryant do a TV show? I mean, come on. So, Oscar winning Kobe Bryant. So they're definitely something to look out for if you are looking for something to watch on demand, or if you don't have cable service and you want to be able to watch ESPN if you don't have your friend's passcode. I'm not condoning, but that's just the thing with cord cutting now these days, is that if you have one guy with a Comcast or a DirecTV account, you can just sign into whatever you want and watch it. Or if you have your grandma's Netflix password or something like that, or your friend's Hulu password, that's the deal with cord cutting, is the fact that we're just definitely getting away from this all the digital cable or the satellite TV where we're sitting down there and surfing the channels. Basically, we're going to go on our little tablets, we're going to go on our phones, we're going to go on our laptops, and just watch TV through that medium, which, I mean, why not? Why not want to do that? It just seems so much more comfortable. I've gone a whole year without having cable. I mean, I had it for a while because I like watching live sports, but now you can just pretty much watch live sports. Everybody has a streaming app. Everybody has this. Now we're getting into ESPN Plus, whether they're going to charge you or let you sign in with an account, but that's the whole thing. They want to just, like the YouTube TV now, which we'll probably talk about a little more in the next segment. YouTube TV is getting away from the fact that you're going to pay the cable provider. No, just pay us, and we'll just stream it through our service, no problem. Direct pay, no problem. Don't want to have to worry about watching. If you don't want ads, pay a little more. You want you can have different. I think they have different levels of it. So and then YouTube Red, you're definitely going to be paying for what you get, I believe. So versus trying to get these packages where I know I paid. Oh, you want to have these bundles of the internet and TV service like you do with Comcast or with AT&T. That's the one thing I think is going to be interesting. Now, these cable companies are trying to keep their customers by bundling their. I mean, everybody needs Wi-Fi. I'm like, how are you gonna watch your YouTube Red if you don't have Wi-Fi for your house? I mean, now you have to. If you want Wi-Fi, you kind of have to have TV. You're going to buy it by itself, or we're going to jack up the price for just the Wi-Fi. Might as well just bundle it with the TV. So, I mean, that's what they're going to be trying to do. But, I mean, I feel like that's not going to work because people are just like, no, we're just going to go find a cheaper Wi-Fi provider. So, sorry about it. Okay. So we're talking about ESPN a little bit there. I just wanted to, I mean, it's more about Disney. ESPN, it's not really about ESPN. The ESPN Plus is just the first rollout for this whole project Disney is going to be working on here. But Disney Entertainment is definitely going to be getting going on this cord cutting game, and this new idea that we can just watch TV on our phones and watch it on our computers and watch it on our tablets and on the go and on the move, and be it for as long as we're in Starbucks and a Wi-Fi or in whatever coffee shop you may have, your favorite coffee shop in Wi-Fi. You could just watch TV, whether it's live or it's a TV show, your favorite TV show, whatever it may have you. So we're going to get more on, we can talk more about the YouTube TV. I feel like in this last segment coming up, I'm just going to kind of go through the different headlines of the day. Nothing really pointy to talk about. We talked a lot about Facebook in the first two segments. I wanted to go over the big announcement today that Disney is getting into the cord cutting game with the maiden voyage of the ESPN Plus. I mean, first, like I was saying, first comes sports, and then next year we're going to have a Disney branded video service. So that's what you're going to be looking forward to next year, and we'll probably be talking about that more and more as they continue to roll out content and roll out different platforms for you to be able to watch your favorite sports, watch your favorite TV shows through Disney's streaming service or branded video service. Whether it's going to be, and it's going to be also subscription based these days. So it's going to be you pay for what you want. So I mean, like I'm saying, you just like sports, you just pretty much watch sports only. You can do this little $4.99 a month. It's not bad. Or I think they give you also, what was it, $49 a year or something like that. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, but if you do it before April 18th, it's 30 days for free, so you get the first month for free. All right, so I'll wrap it up for this segment. We talked about the fact that Disney is now getting into the cord cutting game, and the next segment we're going to be going over just some headlines of the day. I might review a laptop. We'll see here. And then we'll talk about maybe some YouTube TV as well, because, I mean, I don't know how I feel about that, but we just have to get into it because that's what's going on these days. Everybody's getting away from their set-top boxes on top of their hooked up to their TV. We're all getting on those streaming waves of ways to watch TV. All right, we'll be right back.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Technology Podcast. We have a lot to talk about in this last segment. Right now, the Fortnite servers are down, so I can't play Fortnite while doing this podcast. Just kidding. But no, yeah, the Fortnite servers are down right now on the PS4 and Xbox One mobile and PC, so nobody has anything to do if you aren't in school. What are you going to do with yourselves right now? But yeah, no, definitely something that we're going to talk about probably this last segment. It kind of this makes me want to give my little thoughts on these free to download games. I know I haven't played. Well, I have played them, of course. I mean, come on. But, I mean, I'm not big on those first-person shooters. I'm more of a sports gaming person, or more of a storyline kind of gaming person. So these games are definitely the new rage now, where you're going to be downloading these games for free, but then you do little micropayments within them if you want to keep playing. I know there was a game called all my roommates were playing in college a couple years ago that was called Warframe. And basically, you had all these different characters that you can create. You customize all the gear, and kind of the same thing as Fortnite, except that Fortnite's more of a combination between, you can say Call of Duty because it's a first-person shooter, and you're going around taking people down and trying to win these big battles. But then also you can build the map, like kind of a Minecraft kind of thing, where you're just building the map. up, and you're building different things. And you have different tools to be able to protect yourselves, or picking up different weapons everywhere. So, but Fortnite, I mean, Warframe, you could customize your whole person's armor. There was different Warframes. I mean, different like characters you can eventually upgrade to, and if you got kind of stuck in the game, you could pay for these credits that would allow you to get to these new Warframes, get to these new levels in the game. I mean, that's how these companies kind of they make their money. This their business model is the fact, we're going to give you the game for free, we're going to get you hooked on it, and then we're going to charge you for advancing in the game, basically, versus having to pay at the outset like we have in most games. But those are still around as well. But right now, Fortnite is all the rage. It is one of those free to download games. You do have to, if you're good enough, I mean, if you want to play at a certain level of it, I feel like you don't have to pay, at least for much. But they're definitely going to get those people who are just avid gamers and want to continue on into their Fortnite worlds and be able to get as good as they possibly can. So right now, but the servers are down right now, so they can't do it. You can't play right now, so you can't get on for as far as you possibly can. And you can't go and win your battle royale and make a cool video and post it on Twitter or Reddit or wherever you may put it on, because I feel like that's all we're seeing these days, is the fact that all these people are like, oh my god, I won, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like I won, oh my gosh, it never happened. Like, or these crazy no-scope snipes from across the map or something like that, or we're watching our favorite football players playing this game on their YouTube accounts, or we're going to go on Twitch. That's the cool thing. I'm going to talk about that. Makes me want to talk about something cool. That's one of the coolest things I've seen in the gaming world is Twitch. Obviously, we have PewDiePie, which is the guy on YouTube. I talked too much about Facebook today. Now Facebook is in my head. About YouTube. PewDiePie's on YouTube, one of the, if not the most subscribed person on YouTube with lots of different views. I mean, I think he might, I don't know how often he posts anymore, but he's the guy who plays different games and then has the camera on his face and puts his face in the corner of the camera, and he has a screen recording, so you can see what he's doing on the game, the screen recording, but then you can see his facial reactions as he plays the game. Basically, he's just videotaping himself play video games, and he made millions of dollars off of it. But now we have Twitch, which is interesting because it's instead of having it be recorded, like he does it, records it, and then posts it on YouTube. You have Twitch, which is a live streaming app that you can go on and watch your favorite person or favorite gamer or favorite athlete. I mean, I've even seen baseball players, like I'm a baseball guy, so I've seen my favorite baseball players go on Twitch and go play whatever it might be. They play like Freedom. I mean, they play different stuff. I mean, what was he playing? He played Super Mario Brothers one time. He played Fortnite one time. I mean, all these different kinds of stuff. I think he went and played Call of Duty one time. So, I mean, you can go on Twitch now and go watch people play these video games. I mean, that's the new thing. Sitting and watching people play video games, right? When we have competitions, we have now this new esports games where now ESPN's even getting into it, where we have these esports where we have people from across the country, across the globe, all around the world coming in, playing in these massive tournaments. And they have these different teams battling against each other to play these tournaments. And we have I know they have, well, that's a sports game. For Madden, they have one. But I know that probably Super Mario Brothers, they have one. I think they have one for what is the other, the one for like the boxing game where you just kind of go against each other, where you're just like fighting 1v1 kind of things. But they also have a big team one, so they have people all sitting in their little pods and they're just locked in and they're going against each other. And it's like a competition. So I mean, that's the thing. Watching people play sports was the thing. Now it's all about watching people play video games. So Twitch is definitely the thing you want to do, and that's how I think you have to subscribe, or I'm sure that you can play. You can just anybody can kind of get a Twitch thing and get with a camera and kind of screen record their apps and then watch them. And right now Fortnite that's up there. Then you have Players Unknown Battlegrounds, that's up there too, and people watching League of Legends is up there. That's what I was thinking of, League of Legends. Duh. And then Fortnite is right now. So there's over almost 130,000 viewers of Fortnite at any point watching the people stream their Fortnite games, because there's people out there who are pretty darn talented and they just get really good at these games and they can get a following. I mean, you have people who are on Twitter, on Facebook, on Reddit, who are getting a following now and regarding, oh, this guy's a famous Fortnite player. I have to go watch him play. I have to go, oh my God, I'm playing live with this guy. I mean, I think Drake, the rapper Drake, was playing with one of the top Fortnite players one time, and they were like live tweeting each other, talking about how this guy is a legendary. I mean, he's like a legendary Fortnite player, and everybody only knows him by his gamer tag. But Drake is obviously Drake, and the guy who's the famous gamer is like a huge Drake fan. They're both like just freaking out that they're playing with each other because Drake's a big fan of that guy, watching his videos of how great he is at that Fortnite game and all of his really ridiculous actions and different kills he has on that game versus Drake. Is obviously a worldwide renowned rapper, and that guy is probably he was a big Drake fan. So it's just interesting seeing that we have all of that kind of stuff going on, and with the game in the gaming world. But right now, the big news is that the Fortnite servers are down for the moment. We'll see how long it takes for them to get back up. But right now, that's what I kind of want to report on here. I think maybe we'll see by the time this podcast is uploaded that we have Fortnite stuff is up. Right now, I do have a report from the Google News saying that the report is down. There was a quote from. That's why I wanted to get that's what I was looking for. I wanted to get a quote from Epic, which is the service that brings you Fortnite, and they're saying they have a critical failure into one of our databases supporting our account service, and as a result, our login and matchmaking systems were blocked. So that's basically what it is, and people can't get into the game and create matches. So that's the difficulties regarding those massive games. I mean, you have millions or thousands of people. I don't know about millions, maybe millions. We don't know. I can look at the numbers up, but massive amount of people playing this game all at one time. And I mean, this is a new game. You only have so much server space. I mean, when I'm talking about server space, that it's hard to play. You can't really do it from the cloud. You have to literally have in a room, have these massive servers sitting in a room, and that's how they're going to be able to traffic all of this stuff, or take all this internet traffic regarding the players coming in and logging into their site, be able to play the game, because it's not a game that you pop a disc in to your Xbox or your PC or whatever. You just download it off the internet. So, and then once you log into the game, you're now into their servers, and the servers will play out the game for you and for your friends to play with you, because it's all live. I mean, everybody has their headset on. You can all talk to each other live. I mean, it's just, we've been able to do that for a while now with Xbox Live, but never at this scale, I don't think, for a game that is at this magnitude. So we'll see how long that people are going to be without their Fortnite. So it's just going to be a long little wait. So until we get to this point of let's see, this is was saying Players Unknown Battlegrounds. That's also or I don't even know the PUBG. Why people have to do that? It looks like Pug, but Fortnite versus Pug player count, and different people can do different things on those games. But I mean, that's all the deal, is that you have even these star athletes, these star people wanting to play these games together. So I mean, let's see, player count, Fortnite versus Pug, Players Unknown Battlegrounds. So I mean, this guy, yeah. So it looks like Fortnite came out. For the Players Unknown Battlegrounds made $700 million in 2017. But yeah, no. So it says Fortnite has 45 million players and over 3 million concurrent users. So that means that, yeah. So their servers are dealing with 3 million people, 3 million different gamers. At one time, 3 million different consoles logged into their, whether it's through the mobile, PC, PS4, Xbox platforms at one time. So I mean, and then 45 million people playing it total. So I mean, they could have spike times where you can even see that go up to maybe 5-6 million people at once. So I mean, you can tell that they're having. You can tell that. I mean, I'm not surprised now that we have a little issue with their servers. So I mean, this is from PCGamesIn.com, giving me all this lovely information regarding the amount of people who play. So I mean, definitely an interesting. Yeah, Fortnite now has 45 million players and over 3 million concurrent users. I mean, they lost the players on Battlegrounds. Is kind of has been hot on its heels, but it's been losing players since January. And definitely, Fortnite has surpassed the monthly revenue. Has become the biggest game, and even a bigger game on YouTube than Minecraft. I mean, this is people like remember said people watched that guy PewDiePie on YouTube. He played everything from Minecraft to Nazi zombies with Call of Duty to League of Legends and stuff like that. But now we're having people watch them play Fortnite because I mean that's all it is. I mean, it's this game where you're just going to be going around trying to figure out who's on your team, who's not, and you're going to try and beat them in this battle. I mean, it actually is pretty cool. I've definitely watched my fair share of little snippets of people making some pretty cool moves on that game. I mean, I've seen families play it together. I've seen people playing it cross country together. I've seen, like I talked about before, two famous people playing it together. I've seen two NBA players message each other, or they had even an NBA player who was on Twitch and live streaming his gameplay and was actually playing with another NBA player. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were playing together at the same time, and he wanted him to jump over and play the other game with him. So they were talking to each other through the game. I mean, it's just crazy how we have this technology now and this ability to have these games that are free to download. There's no discs, there's no nothing. You just download it right off the internet, and you can go on and play for hours and talk to your friends and meet new people and connect while you're playing a game all in this cool world. I mean, I may have to go get going on my Xbox. I just press a button, it'll be right on there. So, but not right now because the Fortnite servers are down. Hopefully they'll be back up by the time I post this podcast, but we'll see. All right, so we're coming to the close here of this technology podcast. The first two segments were pretty much all Facebook oriented. I did talk a lot about that. There it is, the big news in the tech world, this big tech company being called on the carpet by our congressman. I mean, I advise you to go look at some of the best hits regarding that. I mean, for those who did not watch the hearings, I'd advise you to go watch some of the best hits of those, because these congressmen and the senators they ask some of the funniest questions sometimes. I mean, I feel really bad for Mark Zuckerberg just sitting there. He's just sitting there. He's like, bring it on, folks. And some of them ask good questions. I mean, we had some poignant questions. We got some information out of him, but a lot of them, one guy showed his Facebook account on. It's like, I'm a Facebook friend. I just got a post from my sister for National Siblings Day. And then, I mean, Orrin Hatch asked Zuckerberg how he makes money in a service that the users don't pay. And then he's like, Senator, we run ads. And he's like, oh, okay. I'm like, dude, really? The guy's it's a multi-billion dollar company. I mean, what are you? I mean, come on. It's just funny sometimes with these senators, but I digress. It's ridiculous sometimes. All right, we talked about the ESPN Plus is going to be the first service to roll out for the new Disney sponsored video service. So look forward to seeing some more Disney stuff in the next year or so coming, especially rolling out next year. They're going to be a competitor with Netflix. And then we talked about Fortnite and different game streaming services, and the fact that right now that Fortnite servers are down. Hopefully they get them back up ASAP. So that'll wrap it up for today's episode of the GSMC Technology Podcast. We'll be back next Tuesday to talk more about your technology news. And until then, everybody have a good weekend.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.